Thank you very much, Stuart. So if I could introduce the first session for today. Senior Sergeant Darryl Elliott Green's love of helping others, adventure and fitness led him to join the Queensland Police at age 18. At 27 years of age, he had completed a Bachelor of Arts in Justice Studies and was awaiting promotion to Senior Constable. On 1st of May 2000, he was on night work and expecting a quiet Sunday night shift. Darryl was to confront every police officer's worst nightmare. For his actions on that night, he was awarded the highest honour for valour from the Queensland Police, which recognises an act of exceptional bravery in extraordinary circumstances. Soon afterwards, the incident was featured on the ABC's Australian Story. It was for Darryl, however, just the beginning of a horrific, long and physically and emotionally painful journey that provides a unique insight into post-traumatic stress and how to turn your life around. He now speaks professionally on the lessons he learned from his harrowing journey. Please welcome the man who was twice shot, Darryl Elliott Green.
Many of you have more letters behind your name than are in my name. So when Tony Dell asked me to speak here on post-traumatic stress to you, intimidating. But then I thought, no, it's not. I'm not here to tell you about the latest medical research into treating post-traumatic stress. I'm here to give you an inside perspective of post-traumatic stress. How? By telling you a true story. I'm going to share with you my journey, a key turning point, and one lesson. Let's wind the clock back 15 years. I'm a constable in the Queensland Police. I'm on night work. A job comes over the radio. I take out my notebook. I record this job. Many of you are doctors in the room. I have seen your writing. I expect you to be able to read that. It's to attend Hanbury Street, Chermside West in North Brisbane, in relation to threats to kill. A couple of men had a fallout over a $20 football bet. We took up with two males. We started our investigation, and then we moved back to the sergeant's patrol vehicle to do background checks. Sergeant Chris Mulhall sat in the driver's seat. My partner, Charnel Cole, sat in the front passenger seat. I sat in the back seat. I'm listening to the information coming in. Then I hear this pat, pat, pat to the left of me. The car door's open. We're only going to be here a few moments. I turn. It's a man. Pointed at my face, a .22 calibre rifle. Bang, I've been shot in the face. Bang, I've been shot in the shoulder. Don't even feel it. There's blood, there's teeth, there's bones. I try to open the door, the child locks are on. I sit up, the sergeant's seat, it's empty. Charnel's splattered with blood. It's deathly quiet. I yell to Charnel, get help. I take my firearm out. I go out through the door I got shot through. I go into fight mode. I scream out for the offender. I try to find him. Can't find him. Chris, where's Chris? I walk down the street trying to find Chris. There's movement. I level my firearm. Don't shoot, don't shoot. There's a lady in a nightgown. I said, get back in the house. I see movement on the other side. I turn around over here. She said, that's my husband. Back in the house, back in the house. I come back over to the patrol vehicle. And Charnel's there. She says, Greenie, I'm hurt. Greenie, I'm hurt. You know what I was thinking? I'm happy. I know she's alive. I stood guard over my partner and eventually backup arrived. we have an audio of this shooting. The resilience workshops I run, I play more of the audio. Today, I'm going to give you the core of the audio. You're going to hear Chris, Charnel and myself. We're in the police vehicle. And you're going to hear Comco, or the communications coordinator, and the radio operator in police headquarters in Brisbane. I use language in this audio that I don't normally use. I dropped the F-bomb. I even dropped the C-bomb. Fortunately, on this particular occasion, the most important person in the world has forgiven me for my language. My mum.
It's not him, he's not this. Yeah, he was recorded on about parody, which is his proper name. What was the address? It was 9, wasn't it?
Yeah, 9 Hanbury Street.
Let me look. 9.
I'm going to get Brian in before I go any further with this. The informants are...
A knuckle dragger too, is he?
Yeah. I've made him... I've done the same thing I'm doing with yourself with Winston Noble here.
You there? Hello? 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 Right. Back up 407, please. Code 2. Do that job. Hanbury Street, code 2. Any units? You there? Hello? No talk on the phone. Get the ambulance. Come on, the ambulance to job 122, please. Not sure. Forward screaming. Someone got the ambulance for me? Job 122. Shit. Right, up code 1, please.
That's what I call a bad day at the office. Chris, Charnel and I all lived, but it was the beginning for me of a very long journey. This is me at home a couple of months after the shooting. I don't look too bad for being shot in the face. What can you see I'm missing? 3 teeth. I had 20 months off of work after this event. And some people put the 3 missing teeth and the 20 months off work together and thought, Greeny's having it easy. Well, I'll show you what I was going through in that 20 months and you can make up your own mind. This was the damage done to my mouth. Over those next 20 months, I went through a complex series of operations: bone grafts, gum graft, pins, implants, and more. I'm now going to step you through those procedures. Please keep an eye on the timeline. Reconstruction complete. I was told it was the best job that I could hope for. I'm now going to show you a photograph when I've come home from the bone transplant. I am physically and emotionally distressed. The operations were actually a second trauma. The comments that I was having it easy, they just exacerbated the effects of post-traumatic stress, which were about to hit me with full fury. First, after the shooting, I was stunned, dazed, and my thoughts were a little bit foggy. In fact, I was walking along the edge of a cliff. And then an event was going to occur that was going to nudge me over that edge. 7 weeks after our shooting, Dog Squad officer Norm Watt attended a domestic violent incident. Norm was shot once. Norm died, and for me, this triggered the full effects of post-traumatic stress. Hyperarousal, depression, anger, anxiety, dreams. I thought I was going crazy. One day, I was out running. I ran across a bridge. Running across, stopped. Come to the edge, took hold of the railings. I looked down and I thought, the struggle could all be over. But being a police officer, I knew the effects of suicide on the family. And I said to myself, I cannot do that to my mum and my dad. So I turned and I continued running. I then did one of the most courageous things that I've done in my life. I asked for help. I saw a psychiatrist. What did he do? He stabilised my condition. Antidepressants, sleeping tablets, anti-anxiety pills. I then returned to work in 2002. I was very emotionally fragile, couldn't deal with confrontation. So I started my rehab program, reintegration into work, in an internet team that investigated internet pedophilia, spending most of my time in the office and then building up to doing a few search warrants. We had the anniversary of the shooting. Chris, Charnel and myself and everybody else involved on that night gathered at the Breakfast Creek Hotel for a steak and a beer. And the next day, I rang into work. A bit crook, I just can't make it in. The next day I turned up to work and I'm walking down the corridor and who do I run into? My supervisor. Hey Greenie, come here. Mate, there's no better reason for getting on the piss for what you guys went through, but you should have changed a shift from a day shift to an afternoon shift. What was the assumption he made? I drank too much, I was hungover and I wasn't fit to go to work. Not the case whatsoever. The conversations, the emotions, the memories brought up. That night when I went back home, I couldn't switch off. My brain was just running like a motor. So I took a heavy dosage of sleeping tablets and the next morning I wasn't fit to drive, let alone have a firearm. That conversation erected a wall between me and my supervisor. I said, there's no way that I can tell him truthfully what's going on inside me with the effects of the shooting. 2003, it was time to have my reconstruction inspected. So I go to see the specialist, Dr. Don Arvia, and I sit in his dentist chair, and his job is to have a look at my work, make sure it's fit for purpose, and sign me off for work cover. That's the insurance, government insurance agency paid for my reconstruction. I sit in his dentist chairs, he has a poke around, he says, Daryl, step into my office. Daryl, you're sat in my dentist chair. What you have in your mouth, I cannot clean. There is no way that you can clean what's in your mouth. You're at risk of bloodborne disease. That's very dangerous. I'm sorry, your reconstruction has failed. Shocked, devastated, been through hell, and they didn't even have a solution for me. I become depressed. my mind was cast back, transfixed on things from the past. This is me at home. I've come home from the first bone transplant. What do you notice in the foreground? It's a bowl with a straw in it. For a month after that procedure, I could not eat solid food because of the plate I had holding everything together. So my mind is cast back to searing pain, sucking my food through a straw, and mumbling to be understood. What happened next? Motivation, criticism from my peers. Oh, Greenie, he's just got some dental procedures. I worked a 2 p.m. to 10 p.m. shift at police headquarters. I knew about these comments, they'd come back to me, and I tried to have a workout at the gym and I couldn't. I had the place to myself. I sat in a chair, slumped on a piece of equipment, I held my head in my hands. I felt isolated, alone, and I said, nobody understands. So I made some big decisions. There was no career for me in the Queensland Police. I was washed up. And I had no skills to offer the outside world. What am I going to do? I need to get some new skills. All right, I need to enrol. I enrolled in a master's degree in applied finance. I need to find a desk job somewhere I can sit and hide to help me study. So I started applying for a few positions, and I eventually landed a sergeant position at training at the police academy. But before I could take up that position at the academy, it was time for surgery. I went through a second reconstruction. I was disturbed by what I went through. I don't know about you. If I get laid up with a cold for 4 days, I get a bit frustrated in bed. Eh? But what I went through, it turned my life back 4 years, back to this. Excruciating pain, depression, anxiety, anger. It even looked worse the second time around. I had the reconstruction. I turned up to the police academy, take up my new role. I made a decision. I was not letting anybody know what was going on inside me. I had erected a wall between the outside world. A friend of mine, I didn't know at the time, Mark Harvey, became a good friend. He described me at that time. He said, Greenie, you showed no emotions. You engaged only on the surface. You didn't let anybody know what was going on with you. You were a ghost. In 2006, there was a colleague I worked with as a young constable, and he was instructing recruits, Paul Trinder. And he thought, Darryl might have a few lessons to pass to my recruits. So he spoke to my manager and said, I was thinking to ask Darryl just to speak to the recruits about what he's been through. You want to speak to Darryl about the shooting? Well, that's a bit taboo. We don't really talk about that. I know. Let's go see the inspector. Dave Stevenson, big bear of a man. What did he say? Why don't we ask Darryl? Empower the man. So they asked me, and I said yes. In 2006 was the first time I spoke about this event. And Dave Stevenson came along to see me, and he said, hey, Greenie, I hear you talking. Would you mind if I come along and listen in? It might help me be a better boss for you. Okay. So I talked, and after the talk, Dave and I together walked back to where we were working. He told me, I watched you when the audio was playing. What was going on in your mind? I gave a little bit, and he talked a little bit more. How are you going? What do you enjoy doing? I gave a bit more. I said to him, Dave, my life is made up of a 2-hour commute, work and studying every evening and every weekend for this complex master's degree in finance. There's not much joy in my life. What was Dave Stevenson able to do with casual conversation? He was able to peek over that wall that I erected and have a look inside my post-traumatic stress world. Dave was an expert at understanding, connecting and building bridges with people. What was his secret? He liked to talk to everybody in the office each day about something that wasn't work-related. There was one chap Mike Wallace loved the Crystal Palace football team, so he'd speak to him about that. But he was also gauging how he was going at home, how he was going at work, how he was going at life, so he could help support them. And sometimes he realised that I was not travelling too well. It could be a new medical procedure. It could be legal complexities coming up, still fighting for criminal compensation. He said, "Hey, Greenie, I'm going for a smoke on the Oval. Come keep me company." So Dave and I, we'd walk off to the Oval, have a chat, and he built enough rapport that I started to let him know a little bit what was going on in my life. What was Dave doing? He was chipping away at that wall that I'd erected with the outside world. Now, at this particular time, you can see here, 2004, 2006, those first 2 years at the academy were my toughest. I literally had the weight of the world on my shoulders. So what was weighing me down? It was the study. It was the commute. It was no relationship with a girlfriend. It was a feeling of isolation, a feeling of being a burden to my parents. It was work. There was no career, insensitive comments, work pressures, and simply no light at the end of the tunnel. And then one day there was a workplace conversation, what husbands and wives do at home. Somebody said, "Oh, the wife, she's responsible for shopping. Oh, the husband, he's responsible for getting the motor vehicle maintained by the mechanic." And somebody's piped up, "Oh, Greenie, he's got it easy. He lives at home with mum and dad." What comes to mind when you think of a fully capable 33-year-old male living at home with his elderly parents? Any ideas? Any ideas at all? Loser? Well, that's exactly how I felt. And that comment was the straw placed on the camel's back that broke me, and I caved internally, become highly distressed. I had to leave the office, but I couldn't walk out on Dave Stevenson. He'd simply been the best boss that I'd ever had. So I went Dave and sought him down. He could see I was highly distressed, and he said, "Greenie, come with me." We went to a building. It was empty, and we sat on the stairs. I told him all what was going on, the pressures, the comment, how was I feeling. And what did he do? He shared a story in his life where he hit a really low point. And we talked a little bit more, and he suggested that I pack up my things, go home, maybe go for a run. I know you like running, Greenie, maybe do something to take your mind off, watch a movie. And that's exactly what I did. And the next day, I didn't call in sick. I didn't go on stress leave. I didn't give up on my job. I turned up to work. Why? This is the lesson I wish to pass to you today, wish to share. As mental health professionals, I am sure that you will be aware of it, but I hope this serves as a great reminder. Critical to supporting a person who is suffering post-traumatic stress, building trust. I've actually analysed what Dave Stevenson did, and I broke it down to 7 elements. It actually forms an acronym, and I was actually pleasantly surprised. I didn't even realise it was 7, didn't really realise it formed as an acronym. So when you hear, see and feel the object that this acronym is about to describe, I want you to think how to build powerful trust, how somebody closed themselves off from the outside world, somebody was able to open up and let me talk and have them help support me. The first thing, share. You expect this person to open up to you, you've got to open up to them, share with them. Like Dave Stevenson, he told me about that low point. Opportunities. There will be amazing opportunities where you can go those extra yards to help support the person. Feedback. Ask the person, how's the treatment going? How am I going? Where can I improve? Ken Blanchard was right. Feedback is the breakfast of champions. Time. It's no good waiting for there's a crisis and then trying to help somebody. You've got to build that trust with every interaction that you have with the person. Feel. If you know somebody and they walk into this room, in 1 millisecond, your body knows how you feel about that person. With Dave Stevenson, it was a feeling of support, wisdom, somebody I could take my problems to and get worldly advice. How you concentrate, actively concentrate how you are making the people you are helping feel. Individual. It would be lovely if we were all chess pieces. I'm sure many of my managers would have really appreciated it. Unfortunately, we're not like chess pieces. Learn about the individuals, their goals, their drives, their triggers, so you can help support their resilience. And lastly, and if you don't have this last one, all the rest don't matter. Don't matter at all. Genuine. You actually have to mean it. So you've got to say it, mean it, and do it. When Dave Stevenson asked me to come see me speak, I said yes. I didn't have to remind him. He turned up. He was there. So whenever you come across a fig now again, I hope you will think how to build powerful, deep trust with a person suffering post-traumatic stress. I told a lie. Pretty naughty for a policeman. I said I had one lesson. In fact, I got two. Who doesn't like a surprise? You need high level of support when you go through post-traumatic stress. My greatest supporters, Mum and Dad. And for years, I brought horrendous, painful and sad news from the shooting to them. This is an example of what the shooting brought to them. You might remember I had a gum transplant. They cut out a 20-cent sized piece of skin from the roof of my mouth and they placed that over the bone transplant. The surgeon couldn't quite seal my mouth up and he sent me home and gave me some gauze. He said, oh, it'll heal in time. A lot of pain and I needed to get to sleep. So I took heavy sleeping tablets and the doc was right. The gauze did do its job. They filled up with blood. But then the blood continued to flow and the gauze were full and the blood continued to flow. Mum and Dad woke to find me in bed, had to get me out of bed, get the t-shirt off me, help clean me up. So that's one example of what the shooting brought to them. But this year was different. I did a favour for a friend in 2014. He invited me to a function and I met this guy, Mike Alafasci. And my mate who invited me went over to Mike and said, hey Mike, this is Greenie. He's got a really interesting story. So I started to tell Mike a little bit about what happened to me, some of the talking I was doing in the police. And he thought I had something special. And it turns out he was an executive performance coach. And he knew I couldn't afford his fees. I'm a copper. What did he do? He started to work with me for free, coaching me and speaking. And through Mike, I learnt about an opportunity, which I'll share with you shortly. And I thought, geez, this opportunity might suit me. But then I learned professionals in the field who earn their living were applying. I'm just a copper. My heart sank. I have sat in the shower and I've had the water pour over me and I felt sorry for myself. And I have learnt it got me nowhere. Only action got me anywhere. And I've often called on a line from a very inspiring movie. And I did it on this occasion. And that line is, get busy living or get busy dying. I got busy living. I put pen to paper. I accepted help from Mike. I applied for this opportunity. I flew down to Canberra. You had to be at this gala event where they were announcing it. 9 people had applied. I was at a large table. Nobody knew that I'd applied, and I didn't know what was about to occur. The MCs then announced the award. This year's Carrie Nan Scholarship for Public Speaking is awarded to a person who speaks on leadership, resilience, and has served more than 2 decades in the Queensland Police. I've looked around. No other coppers here from Queensland? After I got off the stage from accepting the scholarship, you don't have to guess who I picked up the telephone to. A couple of days later, I arrived back in Brisbane. Mum and Dad were there to pick me up and drop me back to my apartment. What did I do? I jumped out in front of the car with the scholarship plaque and I shook it. Finally, after 15 years, I had brought something good directly related to the shooting to my 81-year-old mother and 83-year-old father who were with me every step of the way on my post-traumatic stress journey. They stood by me when all seemed hopeless. They supported me through all the torment, and they showed me what unconditional love was. The lesson I wish to share with you today from that story is not just for people who suffered post-traumatic stress, but for anybody who suffered stress, and we've all suffered stress. Do not listen to the misinformed who have not walked 1 centimetre in your shoes. Some people, they'll never empathise. Some people will just want you to get over it. Some people will be inconvenienced by what you're going through. Ignore them. You won't change them. Do this. Do the most courageous thing you can do. Ask for help. Do the smartest thing you can do. Accept support. And do the most fulfilling thing you can do. Still hold on to your dreams. And one more thing. I wonder who I learned that line from. To answer my colleague's question, are you still doing that speaking thing? Yes, I'm still doing that speaking thing and loving it. Tony Dell, I'd like to thank you for your drive, passion and resolve that made this forum a reality. And lastly, ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to thank you for gathering here and progressing our knowledge, understanding and treatment of the scourge that is post-traumatic stress. Thank you.
Well done, mate. You can stand again. Look at them.
Let me just mention one thing. My mum and dad are actually here today still supporting me up in the back left row. There they are.